Hello, everyone, and welcome to the newest edition of Leading the Moment with Dr. Pickard. Joining me today, as always, Dr. Jeremy Pickard, president of Southwest Tech. Hi, Jeremy.
Hey, Dan. How's it going today?
Good. How are you?
Outstanding. Really good day.
Are we staying cool today?
Trying to.
Doing our best.
Yeah, that's right. Our special guest today is Holly Clendenen, Chief Student Services Officer here at Southwest Tech. How you doing, Holly?
I'm doing well.
Good. So we'll get into some topics here today. We want to kind of focus on student success plans, fairly new here at the college, and what kind of advantages that offers our students. But first, what we like to do is have a little bit of fun, ask some fun questions, Holly, and get to know you a little bit. So the first one is, what was your favorite subject in school?
I would go with math.
Okay.
I really like solving problems.
I thought you were going to say all of them, right? You were a pretty good student, if I remember back in the day, right?
I was. I did like all of them, but math was probably my favorite.
Huh? What about you, Jeremy? Do you have a favorite class?
Yeah, I would lean towards the math science side of the house. I really enjoyed my accounting class when I was in school for some reason, and that's what I started to go as to be a CPA, and ended up taking a little bit different track into education. So something with numbers, the business side of it. So I would say accounting and business.
Sure. And Holly, as Chief Student Services Officer, I assume you have a lot of contact with other students. Is that right?
Yes, I do.
Is there one piece of advice that you give the students every year, every few years, that you think really makes a difference?
I try to encourage students to ask a lot of questions and be curious. They come from all sorts of backgrounds, whether it's right from high school or maybe from the workforce or maybe from taking time off from school. And sometimes asking questions and being vulnerable can be intimidating or scary. So I think I try to encourage students to ask questions. It's okay not to know everything. I think really beneficial to be curious and want to check out new things and maybe explore some careers or meet new people that you didn't come to college knowing.
Yeah, that's good. And there's a lot to learn, right? When you go to college for the first time or even the third or fourth time, there's still new things to learn.
Yeah, you have to learn how to be a college student in its own is different than a lot of other educational experiences.
Right. And Jeremy, you've been around higher ed for quite a while. Is there a piece of advice that you give students that you see?
Yeah, you got to get involved. I think what we find is the students who are more successful are doing a number of different things. They're not just going to class. They're going to office hours. They're going to tutoring. They're signing up for a student organization or a student activity. They're coming to the events that are on campus. They're participating in an internship or a work experience. So getting involved is important too, and not just on the school side of the house, but I think getting involved with your peers. So peers say, hey, we're going to go to the bowling alley. You should go and do that. Hey, we're going to go grab a slice of pizza. You should go and do that. And then the more connections you have with not only the people who work here at the college, but the people who are attending college as well, we know that sets you up to be a successful. And trying to really invest in what's going on here. And so we would say, if you live in housing, keep your door open, and if somebody walks by, say hi and see how you can engage that way. And if there's a couple of activities on campus, heck, you probably get some free food out of the deal just by showing up. So participate in those, because those students we know complete, they persist, they have a better experience because they're a little bit more involved and a little bit more active.
Sure, and that's one of the things here too. We're always trying to find new things for students to do, right? Whether it's athletics, clubs, student orgs. There is quite a bit for our students to do here. Student center. So yeah, that's great. Do you remember, Holly, we'll get into this a little bit later too, but when you were at Southwestern, do you remember a piece of advice that somebody on staff or a teacher gave you back in the day that you're like, oh, I think I'm going to take that with me?
Oh, all the way back to high school, Dan. I think a piece of advice that I can remember is it's okay to change your plan and learn something new and have that change your mind of what you think you want to do. I was pretty undecided going into my bachelor's degree, what I wanted to do. So I was actually taking a lot of exploratory classes because I just didn't know what I wanted to be. I love my biology undergrad, but it's not necessarily something I'm using every day in my position in higher education. But it was a great fit for me, and it helped me on the path that I ended up on. So I think that, that plan or the advice of, it's okay if you don't have a plan, you can figure it out as you go, was really important for me.
Sure. And what about you, Jeremy? Do you remember some advice? I know we've talked about your dad in the past and how he's a big influence in your life. Is there something from him or an instructor back in the day?
Yeah, I think oftentimes when we show up in education, at least for me, I wonder, do I belong here? Is this a place where I can thrive? Do I have the ability to do this? Am I going to be successful? And then I think people just made you feel like you belong, and they probably saw potential in you long before you realized it or saw it in yourself. And so I think that was important, just to have somebody say, hey, you got this, like, you can do this. Or sometimes it was a little bit like, hey, maybe you need to try a little harder because you're having too much fun, or you're doing the extracurricular activities instead of studying or getting in the books a little bit more. And so I think that encouragement both to be better and that encouragement that you got this, those going hand in hand. I remember those very vividly from a lot of my professors and advisors and mentors who are around me. And I think it's important to have both of those in your life, those that challenge and those that encourage.
All of that makes a difference, right? Whether it's good news or bad news that you don't want to hear, sometimes it gets you extra motivated, right? Yeah.
Right.
So Holly, let's talk about you a little bit, your background. We mentioned that you went to Southwestern High School. I guess, where did you grow up, and how did you find your way to Southwest Tech?
I grew up not far from Hazel Green. Actually grew up on a dairy farm for most of my younger life, and then we eventually moved into town and moved into Hazel Green, and graduated from Southwestern. Went on to UW-Platteville, and that's where I got my bachelor's degree, and had a great experience playing on the women's basketball team there. Met a lot of great friends through that experience. And then I ended up working at UW-Platteville after I graduated. That's where I started my professional career, and again took that turn on the path from going into healthcare, and ended up in higher education and fundraising. And after spending about 9 years at UW-Platteville, came up here to Southwest Tech and started an advancement here and moved into student services.
That's great. I guess your responsibilities as a Chief Student Services Officer, what does that entail? And I guess, what do you do on a daily basis, Holly?
Yeah, so in student services, I think one of our primary roles is helping students be successful outside of the classroom. So some of the departments and areas that make up the team are advising, records and admissions, financial aid. We have our academic support center and the Knox Learning Center, mental health counseling, and I also get to work very closely with our facilities and safety team as well as our IT department.
Sure, and that's one thing, Jeremy. There's so many people, I don't want to say behind the scenes, but so many staff and other people that kind of make this place go, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And she's the leader of that team. So a lot of the touch points and things that you see behind the scenes, she might not be sitting with students every single day, but she's willing to when needed. But she's organizing the plan, setting the strategic direction, and just being a great leader and putting in processes and really removing barriers for the folks who are doing the great work every day so students can continue to be successful. She's really good at what she does, and you can tell some of our metrics here at Southwest Tech are some of the best, and she has a lot to do with that.
Sure, no doubt about that. And speaking of removing barriers, like a couple years ago now, I think time's gone fast, but we implemented student success plans, they're called. Can you kind of tell us a little bit about that, how that came about, and what that kind of entails for students coming to Southwest Tech?
Yeah, we were working on how to improve our onboarding and advising for our students in order to have more students in high-wage pathways, and also helping more students access college and be successful once they got here. So we had a project team on campus, and one of the concepts we came up with is how do we help every student have a plan? Because we knew that a lot of our students come in and they have a network, and they have parents or family members or teachers who are helping them take the next step of going to college. But we also recognize that not all of our students have that, and that was an area we thought we could do better. So the idea behind student success plans is every student, before they start their very first class, is going to have those really crucial conversations with one of our professional staff members. And before they start, it's really focused on 3 areas. One is career exploration. Like, why are you picking your program? What do you want to do when you graduate with this degree? And what are your career plans? So we know that going in. The second part is the academic map and support plan. So what do your classes look like in that program? What are your internships or your other work-based learning opportunities you're going to have? What do we need to plan for early on so you're prepared for it? And then what supports can the college provide or some of our external partners provide so that you're successful while you're here? And that can be things like, again, academic tutoring, mental health counseling, our on-campus food pantry, working with some of our government agencies that can provide funding for students to help pay for college, and really making sure those students feel really strong about what their classes are going to look like and what supports we have to be successful. And then the third part, which is really unique, is a financial plan. So all of our students meet with someone from our financial aid team, and they go through the cost of attendance, so tuition, books, fees, if they're living in campus housing. And then they also look at the cost of living while you're a student. So that would be things: are you paying rent? Are you paying a mortgage? Are you paying insurance, a car payment, groceries, those types of things. And then the third part is they look at what are the income and resources students have to pay. So are they working? Do they have savings? Are they applying for financial aid? What does that look like? Grants, scholarships, all of that piece, so that students hopefully aren't surprised when they get that first tuition bill or they have to make that first rent payment and they're, uncertain of what that looks like. So those three components make up our student success plan. Again, every student does that before they start their first classes. We've really just baked it into what it means to be a Southwest Tech student. And now in the last year or so, we've added in a post-classes touch point, which is with the faculty member. So now the instructors who students spend so much time with while they're in their programs are meeting with students, looking over their student success plan and having a conversation about work-based learning, career goals, and really helping our students make even more connections with workforce.
Sure, that's great. Jeremy, sometimes when students come to college, it can be really overwhelming, right? Like she talked about the finances, the classes. Do you see this as a pretty good on-ramp to getting into college and starting your journey here?
Well, we know it is. I mean, what we're doing is we're looking at the outcomes of having an on-ramp like that, and what we say is this is a huge and a very integral part of that on-ramp so they can be successful while they're progressing through, and then they can graduate and complete and go on to their workforce. What she has put in place, like the rest of the nation has been looking at Southwest Tech going, man, we should model that. We need to do that. How do we get that to scale? How do we get there? And I think sometimes it's hard for folks to get our arms around it, but probably her science background and putting some procedures in place and having something very thoughtful and planful and laid out in a very systematic way has been scalable quicker than probably a lot of things that I've seen. So many organizations come to Holly and say, could you explain that to us? How do we go about doing that? How do we implement that? Because everybody wants that. And sometimes I don't know if the students really recognize how important it really is. But once you step back and you get the whole picture and you can look at all of those things now in place, you have an understanding of where you want to go. And yeah, it is a roadmap to get you to where you want to go. And that's why people get to where they want to go quicker, faster, cheaper sometimes, because we know what the financial gaps are. Our foundation can come on board and then hopefully close some of those financial gaps. When I'm going out and meeting with donors and all alumni listening or folks who have an interest in doing that, if you want to come, we can tell you exactly what the financial gaps are for our students. Most foundations and most places don't have the ability to have that data and to have that touch point. And then we also know what our outcomes are. You're investing in a really good product. And so help us close that gap. Help us narrow that because we know the outcomes that we are achieving. But we're going to continue to push ourselves. Some of the strategic initiatives that we have, it says in there 100%. We want to do this for all of our students. We don't want to leave a single one. We're not content with 75% or 80% or 95%. We want 100% of our students to do this because we know what it results in, and it's not just an on-ramp. We think it's foundational to their success and what it is that they're going to do. And Holly and her team, many teams have a lot to do with that, and she's just really grateful for those systems that have been put in place and they're working. Doesn't mean we're perfect at it yet. We're always tweaking and looking how to make it better, how to make it go from maybe a paper or a spreadsheet to something a little bit more digital where it can be used in real time. Met with the financial aid folks and we're working with some of those indicators and things like that. So we're working hard to even improve it, but what is here and what's in place, people are looking at that as the model. It really is well done.
Sure. And speaking of the model, Holly, I guess, when was this implemented and what have you seen as far as impact for the students that have been served by this so far?
Yeah, so we started implementing our student success plans in 2023, if I'm remembering correctly. And yeah, it's just been multiple iterations since we started, and we've continued to try to make it easier for students to complete all the steps. We've improved the technology we're using and tried to make it more user-friendly so that, most importantly, the students who are using it have better access, but also our staff and our faculty who are supporting the student success plan creation have a better experience as well. And we were able to work with our college effectiveness team and start to look at some of our leading indicators. Big picture, we're hoping this is going to lead to better graduation rates for all of our students. But we are looking at leading indicators, and so far the data has shown an increase in GPAs for the semesters that we've had student success plans implemented. We've seen a dramatic decrease in the number of students receiving D or F grades or withdrawing from their course, especially for new students, which is, I think, very telling that we're helping students get in the right courses and be prepared for those courses and supporting them when they're in those classes. And then third, we have seen an increase in new student retention rate, which is a really great leading indicator. And we're above 75%, I think, for the first time in 6 years. So it's really great that those leading indicators are all going in the right direction. We need a few more years of data to start to look at more of that graduation rate and where that's at. But all the indicators are positive right now. And just some of the qualitative feedback we get from talking with students. We did, again, College Effectiveness did a really great interview study last year and got some really positive feedback about all my questions were answered. I feel so much more prepared. We've had really positive feedbacks from parents who have been a part of the financial plan meetings and feeling how much more confident they feel about their student going off to Southwest Tech, that they have this financial plan in place and they have this academic plan that's going to support them. So very positive feedback.
Yeah, absolutely. And we all have kids, right? That academic plan and the financial piece is huge. And the financial gap, Jeremy, that makes a big difference, right, when students select a college.
Yeah. Oftentimes we don't think about all the things that are involved in going to college. Sometimes we just think about tuition, and we don't think about, well, what about books? I mean, I've heard of students that have been surprised when they had to go buy books. Like, no one told me I was going to have to spend $500 this semester in books. So that's some of the things that we're trying to do is we're trying to eliminate surprises. We want you to have a very thoughtful and a realistic picture of what it's going to take to be successful. And we believe when you have that, then you have the ability to handle those or find resources for those, or maybe we can come alongside you and assist in that area to be successful. And so that's why everybody's chasing it, because not every student knows that. And then when they get to a point where they're like shocked at that, it maybe you're just too late and they don't have the ability to act quick enough in order to save that student or help that student be successful.
Yeah, we want to be proactive, right, not reactive. And reactive is too late.
Well, I think the description that keeps getting used is oftentimes we treat things downstream instead of just taking care of the problem upstream. And this is something that they've looked significantly upstream, taking care of that upstream so they don't have to treat some of those things on the downside of that.
Sure. And Holly, you touched on it a little bit, but have you heard stories from students, personal stories? What do they think about this? I know it's a lot for staff and for students. What have you heard from students as far as what they think about the plans?
Yeah, one of my favorite stories, this actually came to me from financial aid. Cora and the financial aid team, there was Cora had met with the student and did their financial plan, and I think actually helped that student go through, how do you pay your college tuition? Like, how do you actually log into the system and push the buttons to pay? And that very next semester, before the semester had over, that student came back and found Cora and asked if they could meet again to go through their budget and to help plan and take some of those actions again. And that was on the student's own accord. That wasn't a requirement for the student to go do that, but they felt their first meeting was so helpful that they wanted that support and to go through that process with her again, which I think is a great testament of their students are seeing value in doing that. I think some other student feedback is having them feel more confident in their program choice. Like sometimes, students come in and they think they know what it might mean to be in this program, but really having that in-depth conversation. We've been able to connect students to do more program shadows and more job shadows. And talking about our external partners, we've had a lot of employers and alumni who have been willing to have, prospective students come see, what is it really like to be, an auto tech, for example. And that really helps reinforce decisions and help students, get on that right path sooner rather than maybe taking a little bit longer to find that. So I think those are some of the good experiences and good feedback we've heard from students.
Sure. And you're fairly new, Jeremy. Still looking forward with the plans, what do you see? Can there be growth? Can there be things that can be altered, changed? Where do you see it in the next 5 years with these plans?
Yeah, so I think what we're trying to do is we're trying to figure out how to systematize that and make sure that the technology is following it, because to keep it on a piece of paper or on a spreadsheet is very time intensive. It's a lot of human capital that's involved. So how do we make those processes more interactive with students? How are they able to check some of that and look at some of those things on their cell phone? So there's even like a kind of a software or an interface website side of the house as well too. But we know it's working, right? And so we're going to continue to invest in that, and maybe it's more humans as well to be able to do more of the SSPs with students and be able to put together their financial plan. One of the things we're looking at doing is trying to figure out what role do our dual enrollment students play in that. And so that would be another kind of big undertaking in order to be able to do that. She said we need a little more time, right? This is where I think we've had our first graduating class that had the SSPs for a little while now. Help me with the dates, but we're really getting a lot more students that 100% of them now are coming through, and you're seeing those. We're going to be able to measure things a little bit better. So we believe it's working. The indicators are telling us it's working. Now we're going to really find out if it's making the difference that we hope it's making. So making sure that our dashboards and checking that is going well. So there's still more ways to improve, and we're always doing that. Plus, things just change. You know, the financial aid rules change, program curriculum changes. So there's always kind of this updating that we're going to need to do with those to make sure that we're doing them well and serving students well. And I think this is just one of the reasons why we believe Southwest Tech is a really smart choice for parents and students, is because we have some systems in place that we know are going to help make you successful. And we're constantly believing that we're going to rework those and evaluate those and improve those in order to make sure that the outcomes are correct.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't know if I'll phrase this correctly, but maybe somebody watching or listening from the outside might be like, that seems pretty simple. That seems like pretty common. You know, you want to know your finances, your classes. Why has it come to this, Holly? Why has it taken this long? Is it because it's so labor intensive? Mm-hmm. It takes time. What's the reasoning there, you think?
I think that the way we've approached it at Southwest Tech is very individual. So these are typically individual conversations that a staff member is having one-on-one with a student. So whether it's the career conversation, the academic map and support plan, or the financial plan. So it is time intensive. You know, for every new student we have registering for classes, we're having 2 or 3 of these meetings to get them prepped just to go to registration. And, you know, we have great teams of people who see the value in this and want to help students be successful. And that's been a huge contributor to why we've been able to scale this as quickly as we have. But I do think it is time intensive. And when I talk with other colleges about how have you implemented this, or you know, the lift it can be to have these individual meetings. And we're just talking about the ones we have with students before they start. We also have touch points that happen once they're here and they're going from first semester to second semester and first year to second year. So that also adds to that, you know, the time our faculty and staff are taking to update the plans and make sure the students are on track. So I do think that's one of the reasons that you know, that can be a barrier to getting to this level where it's every student has their individual success plan. It looks different than the student next to them. So I do think that's been a challenge. And again, because of the great work and the commitment we have from our faculty and staff, we've been able to move that needle and move forward.
Is it fair to say, Jeremy, that this is more of a personal touch, you know, a one-on-one than some colleges offer, where it's a more broad finances, this and that, but here it is really one-on-one?
Sure, it's absolutely a personal touch. And oftentimes what she's talking about is it does cost us something for that personal touch. It does cost time. It does cost some resources. There's some investment there. And that's what we've heard from other schools. It's like, I don't know if I can afford to do it. And I would pitch it the other direction. I don't think you could afford not to do it. Because if a student doesn't make it, like, what is that costing that student? What is that costing that family? What is that costing our community? We don't have that person now out in our workforce contribute to that. They maybe aren't buying a house or living in our, you know, what is the cost on the other side of that? And we think that it's not necessarily a cost to us. We think it is more of it's an investment. It's an investment in what the student wants to do. It's an investment in them. And it's worth it because we see that it's working and we see that the outcomes are heading in the direction that we want them to head into. So you can call it whatever you want, but at the end of the day, it's the right thing to do for students because they come here and they have hopes, they have aspirations, they have goals that they want to achieve through education. And we feel like in order to uphold our end of the deal, we want to make sure that we're doing everything possible. And this is one of those things that we're doing.
And you already mentioned a little bit, Holly, in your last answer, but the touch points, not just before they start college, but that second year, maybe if they're into a third year, And that goes back to student retention, right? How important is that, and how big of a key is that to these SSPs?
It's very important that we touch base with our students because we know things can change, or maybe something doesn't go as planned and you need to adjust, or you want to take more credits than you had initially planned. So yeah, our advisors are meeting with our continuing students to say, how are things going? This is the plan. What changes do we need to make? Have conversations. Sometimes if you just add an extra class for 2 semesters, you might be able to get out sooner, and there's lots of benefits to getting into the workforce sooner. And then the financial plan also, maybe you buy a new car or you pay off a car and you don't have that expense anymore. So our financial aid team does a great job of being available to meet with students and update those financial plans so they are a very accurate picture of what their finances look like. And then as Jeremy's mentioned, with the way we're handing out our scholarships now, we can really try to be very intentional of those students who have those financial gaps. How can we help reduce those gaps through the use of scholarships or grants? And other external resources. So I think the updating is important to make sure they're accurate and on track with the students because we know things change. And then it allows the college to also be proactive in the support we're able to provide.
And I guess in both of your roles, Holly and Jeremy, what do you see as student success? What makes a student successful when they come to college?
I think a student who's able to achieve their goals, and they might not always articulate that their goal is to graduate, but I feel strongly that our students come here because they're looking to have a better career outcome. They're looking to take that first step in their educational journey, and maybe they think they want to start somewhere smaller, then go somewhere bigger. So I think helping students achieve those goals, walking across that graduation stage. We just had new student orientation last week, and that's what I talked about. Like, we're very glad you're here on the first day, and our goal is that 100% of you are celebrating that graduation whenever that may happen for you. So I think it's helping students, especially those that maybe don't think college is for them, find their passion, find their people, find the network that can help them get that diploma and move on to the next thing.
Sure. What does student success look for you, Jeremy, I guess, going into your first year at Southwest Tech?
Yeah, I think it's the outcomes of that. So what is the job that I'm looking for? And we know that the education can help lead them to a good paying job. And we believe that that's going to change their life. We know it's going to change their spouse's life, their kids' lives, right? We're hoping for a generational change. And so I think that's what success looks like. And not everybody's path is straight, right? Sometimes you move around a little bit, sometimes you come back a little bit later. So that's the role of us too, to try to assist wherever you're at in that educational walk, whether you're 18 years old and coming to us, whether you're 45 years old and coming to us. We try to individualize that on purpose because everybody's going to be at a different spot. But we know that the goal at the end of this is probably employment. Whether you want to transfer for a bachelor's degree, even once you get your bachelor's degree, employment is still the goal. And so we try to keep that in mind, and hearing from alumni and hearing the impact that Southwest Tech made on their lives and probably their children's lives. We just had student orientation like she talked about. I met with a grandmother who brought her granddaughter. Grandmother was a graduate of our nursing program. The granddaughter was there to go through orientation to join the nursing program. And that makes my day because we see that generational changes happen. So everybody's goal maybe is a little different, but I think in the end, they're very similar in nature, and we're trying to help them achieve that goal.
We're on the verge of another academic year. I believe August 17th starts the fall semester. I'm kind of curious before we wrap up here, what are you both looking forward to? Jeremy, this is going to be your first academic year as president. Holly, you've been here a few years, but what are you most looking forward to this year? If we sit here a year from now and we say this was a good year, 26, 27, what would you say?
Well, I'm looking forward to the first day of classes because I just love the energy that new students bring to campus and returning students bring back to campus and having all of our instructors back. So I'm really just looking forward to that first day and the first week and that energy and buzz on campus. Again, I think it's good for everyone to kind of get to experience that and feel that. I think what would make the year successful is really having high student engagement and, getting involved. We have some new clubs and some new teams we're kicking off this year, really trying to be intentional in our student engagement activities and how we're supporting students. We're, expanding our embedded tutoring, and I think that's exciting, and I think that's part of our success is how do we, bring help to where the students are instead of, it was expecting the students to come find the help. So I think success is, having good student engagement, students who are successful, they're passing their classes, they're finishing their degrees, and to faculty and staff who are engaged and happy to be here at Southwest Tech.
Absolutely. And what are you looking forward to, Jeremy, your first year here as president?
Yeah, she articulated a lot of those, and so I love learning the names of students and getting to know them as they come in the first day. But the best day of the year is always graduation, when we get to read their names as they get to accept their accomplishment and head off into the real world. So I think just all of that training that we do for them through their work-based learning experience, through just helping them gain a skill, gaining confidence, working on their leadership skills, all of those things, all of it. It's why we're in the business that we're in, is we love to see students be successful. And you heard her use the word student probably just 15 times in her response. It's student, it's student, it's student. So the things that drive us, the things that excite us, the things that motivate us on a regular basis, it's the students. And so anytime that they're successful, we feel then like that we're contributing to them and we're being successful as well. So it truly is about the students here at Southwest Tech.
It really is. One more question. I guess coming up on the new semester, August 17th, before it starts, there's still time to register if you want to take a class or enroll in a program. What would be your final pitch before the fall semester starts, Holly? Why is Southwest Tech the smart choice, like Jeremy said earlier?
I think it's a smart choice because we are a campus and a community that's committed to helping every student be successful. And I think our student success plans are one demonstration of that. And it's a very formal way because there's a lot that goes into that. But I think when students come to and they experience campus and they spend time here, they will really feel that. Mm-hmm. Their advisor wants them to be successful. Their instructor wants them to be successful. There's a lot of people here that want to help our students, and I think if you're not sure if college is for you, I would encourage you to come check out Southwest Tech, because when you come here, you will feel supported, and there's a team of people here wanting to help you reach your goals.
Yeah, same for you, Jeremy. I know throughout these podcast episodes, your face really lights up when you talk about Southwest Tech and what we can do for students. I guess, what would you tell folks out there that are watching and listening and maybe on the fence about coming to Southwest Tech?
I think the hardest part is just starting. And what most people think is like, oh, that's just really scary. I don't know if I can see myself doing that. And then once they start, they're like, wow, that wasn't nearly as bad as I thought it was, because we have people that are caring for you. So if you just graduated high school in May and you haven't decided to go back to college, now's the time to make that decision. We would encourage you to come back. We have a spot for you. You're welcome here. We know we can help you out with that. If you're thinking about leaving our community and going somewhere else to college, you're like, man, I'm not sure that that's what I really want to do. That's a wise decision. You still have time. Come back. We'd be happy to sit down with you, take you through a student success plan, make sure that you have all that, because maybe your college where you're headed wasn't going to do that with you. You're just unsure on how it's going to work out. Give us a chance to kind of go through that with you and show you what that's going to look like. And then I would say, too, if you're an adult and you've always wanted to go back and retrain or retool and do something else, it is more economical to your advantage to do that. We do have resources that can assist with that. Come by and check us out and have that conversation and just see what's available to you, because you actually may be surprised that this might be a whole lot more doable than you think it is. So I think the hardest part is walking in the door for the first time, but typically once you do, you don't regret it. And I hear that from our alumni all the time. They just are so thankful for the role that Southwest Tech played in their lives.
Certainly, and just take that first step, literally, just walk in the door,
That's right.
Visit us and see what we have to offer, take a look at the facilities and the instructors. People will be more than happy to talk to you.
That's right.
That's great. Well, I appreciate your time today. I know you have a lot going on. Semester's almost starting here August 17th. Thanks, Holly. We really appreciate it. Thank you again, Jeremy.
Yep.
Keep it right here. We'll have another episode coming up soon and throughout the fall semester. You can watch and listen on YouTube, Facebook, and Spotify. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, Dan.
Thank you.